Imagine yourself standing on your porch one morning, the air crisp, the smell of freshly cut grass wafting through the air, and a steaming cup of coffee in your hand. That was me a few months ago, when I moved into this new neighborhood. I wasn't much of a rowdy person, no parties, no fence squatting, just a regular guy who wanted to live quietly, wave to the neighbors when necessary, and keep the lawn from looking too miserable. I'd poured all my savings into this corner house, a nice little lot, a backyard big enough to fit a grill, and a tiny soybean field that I tended like it was my baby. Shenji even dreamed of winter, when Christmas lights would flicker from the outdoor outlet by the driveway, the one I used to charge my electric bike or plug in a few twinkling lights. Life was simple, right? I thought so too, until Karen showed up. Karen wasn't just a neighbor. No, she was a tornado. A tornado in human form, riding a squeaky scooter and carrying an ego bigger than my 3-bedroom house. The first time I saw her, I was standing at the window, watching the sparrows hopping on the lawn, when I heard a faint screech in the distance. I squinted and saw Karen rolling up the sidewalk, her tiny dog perched on her lap like a miniature king. She stopped right next to my hedge, bent down without hesitation, and plugged the cord from her scooter into my outlet. My outlet. I stood there, blinking as if I'd seen a ghost, thinking, maybe this time. Maybe her battery's dead, she needs it. I'm not the kind of person who would let it slide if it was a one-time thing. But there she was, fiddling with her phone, letting her dog bark at the old man jogging by, as if the world were her playground. The next day, I went out to get the paper and there she was again, scooter parked neatly, the plug still sucking up power from my house. I wondered, does she have any shame? But no, Karen not only came back the next day but the day after that, and the day after that, as if my outlet were a free public charging station. I began to feel the peace I had paid for being gnawed away at little by little. My electricity wasn't to feed her scooter, but Karen, she didn't care. She waved at me through the window, smiling fakely as if we were roommates sharing the bill. And that, my friends, was when I knew I had unwittingly entered a battle I never wanted to fight. A battle not just about electricity, but about boundaries, respect, and a little bit of madness I never knew I could unleash. From just wanting to live quietly, I was caught up in a drama with Karen, a drama that would eventually turn the whole neighborhood upside down, and there I was, holding the switch, ready to change everything. I was sipping coffee on my porch that first week in my new place, feeling like I'd finally cracked the code to a quiet life. The sun was just peeking over the hedges, my soybeans were sprouting, and the world felt right. Then I heard it. A faint whine, like a mosquito buzzing too close to your ear. I glanced over and there she was. Karen, trundling down the sidewalk on this beat-up scooter, her little dog perched in her lap like a furry dictator. She stopped right by my hedge, leaned over with zero hesitation and plugged a cord from her scooter into my outlet. My outlet, the one I used for my Christmas lights and the occasional e-bike charge. I blinked, thinking, okay, maybe it's a one-time thing. Maybe her battery died and she's desperate. I'm not a monster, so I let it slide. Figured she'd unplug and roll off. Except she didn't. She just sat there, scrolling her phone, while her dog yapped at a passing jogger. Next morning, same deal. Scooter parked, cord plugged in, Karen acting like my walkway was her personal charging station. I couldn't take it anymore. I stepped outside, trying to keep it chill, and called out, "Hey there, just curious, did you ask anyone before plugging into my outlet?" She froze, turned her head slow, and gave me this look, like I'd just asked her to donate a kidney. "I didn't think I had to," she said, her voice all chipper but dripping with condescension. "It's just a little juice. That outlet's right by the sidewalk. It's practically public property." I stood there dumbfounded. Public property? It's on my wall, wired to my house, jacking up my electric bill. But before I could argue, she flashed this fake smile, unplugged her scooter, and rolled off, her dog glaring at me like I was the bad guy. That should have been the end of it, but oh no, Karen was just getting started. Every day, like clockwork, that scooter showed up. Sometimes twice a day. I'd peek out my window, and there she'd be waving at me like we were besties sharing a Netflix password. My electric bill started creeping up, $10, then $20. My breaker tripped twice in 1 week, plunging me into darkness while I fumbled for a flashlight. I sent a polite note to the HOA, expecting them to slap her wrist or something. Their response? If the outlet isn't marked private or locked, it might be seen as accessible. Consider securing it if it bothers you. Are you kidding me? No warning to Karen, no nothing. Just a big deal with it dumped in my lap. That's when I realized I was on my own. I started logging everything. Every time that scooter rolled up, I jotted down the date, the time, snapped a quick photo with my phone. I even rigged a cheap motion camera by the outlet. Nothing fancy, just enough to catch her in the act. My inner introvert was dying, screaming, "Why are we doing this?" But the part of me that hates freeloaders, wide awake and ready to fight. Then came the sprinkler incident. I'd set my front lawn sprinklers on a timer. Early morning mist, evening burst, keeps the grass green without much fuss. One morning I step outside, and my hedge looks like someone took a chainsaw to it. Grass torn up, sprinkler head snapped clean off. And there's Karen's scooter, parked smugly nearby, with mud streaked across it and a leaf jammed in the wheel. I marched over as she rolled up all casual and said, "Hey Karen, did you run over my sprinkler?" She barely looked up from her phone. "Oh, that? I thought it was dead grass. Didn't seem like it was doing much. You really should water more. You know that head's been sticking up dangerously." Dangerously? My eye twitched. I could feel it. She'd smashed my property and now she was lecturing me? "It's broken because you hit it," I said, voice tight. She just shrugged, hit me with that smile, the one that says, "I'm untouchable," and rolled off. That's when I called my buddy Vince. He's an electrician, my go-to guy for anything involving wires or gadgets. I spilled the whole story over the phone, half expecting him to say, "Dude, just lock the outlet and move on." But Vince? He got this sly tone and said, "You want legal or you want poetic?" I grinned. "Can I have both?" "Oh, you bet," he replied. That Saturday, Vince showed up with his toolbox and a grin that promised chaos. We rerouted the outdoor circuit to a separate breaker, totally legal, all on my property. He slapped in a smart plug with usage tracking and a kill switch. Here's the genius part. Whenever Karen plugged in, it'd spike the load just enough to trip her circuit across the street, but leave my house untouched. No visible tampering, no evidence. Just pure, quiet justice. "She'll never know what hit her," Vince said, wiping his hands. "Let's test it." Monday morning, I'm inside, coffee in hand, watching the live feed on my phone. Karen rolls up, plugs in, and I count. 10 seconds. Click. A soft hum ripples through the wall. 30 seconds later, boom! Her house goes dark. Porch light out, windows black. I see her silhouette flailing like she's swatting ghosts. She storms out, marches to my outlet, stares at it like it insulted her dog. Unplugs, plugs again, stomp, mutter, roll away. 5 minutes later, power's back. 10 minutes later, she tries again. Click, boom, dark again. I'm dying laughing. But then she calls the cops. Officer shows up, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. Karen's waving her arms, yelling, "He's weaponizing his electricity against me. I'm a senior with mobility needs, and he's booby-trapped that outlet." I step out, calm as can be, and hand the guy a folder. Camera footage, logs, HOA messages, Vince's compliance certificate. "She's been stealing my power for months," I say. "This is my property, I protected it." He flips through, raises an eyebrow at Karen. "Ma'am, do you have permission to use this outlet?" She blinks, then says, "Well, it's not like he said I couldn't." He nods slow. "So, no permission." And that's it. Game changer. No charges, but now I've got legal grounds. Trespassing, theft of service. Karen's smug grin fades fast, but she doesn't stop. Oh no, she escalates. A week later, I come home to a freaking wedding tent. $220,000 worth of white fabric and fairy lights, sprawling across the back half of my soybean field. Karen's niece is getting married, and apparently my land's the perfect rustic spot. No call, no note, just stakes in my soil and chairs crushing my crops. The caterer, some guy in a bow tie, knocks on my door and says, "Excuse me, sir, could you move your tractor? It's clashing with the aesthetic." I stared at him. Clashing? My tractor? I smiled, said, "Sure thing," and excused myself to the shed. See, I've got this old John Deere hooked to 2 manure spreaders, relics from a buddy's farm I bought cheap. Perfectly timed ignition, too. Next morning, as the string quartet tunes up, I flip the switch. Both spreaders roar to life, blasting cow crap across the field's edge. Guests scream, stilettos sink. Karen storms over in a sequined dress, shrieking, "What are you doing? I have permits." I point to the property line. "That's mine. That crap? Also mine." Tents down by sundown, weddings moved, and Karen's fuming. She tries a harassment claim, fails. Ellen, the HOA president, back from leave, shuts it down. "You trespassed, Karen. You're lucky he didn't press charges." But Karen doubles down, spreads rumors I'm sabotaging her, even slaps a pink "Property of Karen" sign on my outlet. Then, one night, she plugs in again. Late, thinking I'm asleep. I watch the feed. Plug in, hum, spike, boom. Her house goes dark. This time, it doesn't come back. An hour later, she's out with a flashlight, looking spooked. A neighbor yells, "Hey, Karen, you knocked out your garage again." I sip my coffee and smile. She's got no clue what's coming. Morning broke with a bang, literally. I'm on my porch, coffee steaming, when a loud pop cracks the air, followed by a fizzing hiss and a thin wisp of smoke curling up from Karen's garage. I didn't even flinch, just leaned back in my chair like I was watching a fireworks show. She stumbles out, bathrobe flapping, curlers bouncing, her little dog yapping like it's personally offended by the chaos. She's squinting at her garage, pointing and muttering, "What now? What now?" Turns out that last plug-in fried her external breaker. Not enough to burn the place down, thank God, but enough to kill her garage power, porch lights, and half her front-facing outlets. Her security cameras? Dead. Motion lights? Gone. Garage doors stuck half open like it's mocking her. I see her pacing, phone to her ear, arguing with some poor electrician who probably regrets picking up. The guy shows up in a van, pokes around for 10 minutes, then steps back with this look, like he's seen a crime scene made of bad decisions. I know that face. Vince had it too, when he first saw Karen's tangle of cheap extension cords and overloaded plugs. The electrician shakes his head, hands her a bill, and drives off. No fix, no power, just a big fat "figure it out" left in her lap. Word spreads fast. My phone buzzes. 2 neighbors texting. One sends a laughing emoji. The other asks, "Did you finally snap and take her out?" I don't answer. Just snap a pic of my glowing porch light and caption it, "Fully charged." Petty? Sure. Satisfying? You bet. That night, the neighborhood group chat lights up like a Christmas tree. Karen's in there typing a novel. I'm being targeted. Electrical warfare from a spiteful neighbor. They're trying to push out mobility challenged seniors. She posts blurry screenshots, could have been from a microwave for all I know, and calls it a conspiracy. I'm sitting there, popcorn in hand, watching her spiral. She's throwing around harassment and ageism like confetti, demanding the HOA step in. Big mistake. See, Ellen's back, our real HOA president, not the interim clowns who let Karen run wild. Ellen's no nonsense, the kind of woman who'd stare down a tornado and win. She's been briefed on everything, and she's not here to play. Next day, a notice drops. Mandatory HOA meeting about property violations, power misuse, and false claims. Karen shows up like she's storming a castle. Binder under her arm, neck brace on, where'd that come from? And a limp so dramatic she could have auditioned for a soap opera. I almost admired the effort. Ellen kicks things off, voice cool as ice. "We've got complaints about unauthorized property use, landscaping damage, and trespassing. We've got evidence too. Karen, want to speak first?" Karen stands, clears her throat like she's about to deliver the Gettysburg Address, and launches in. I've been relying on neighbors' goodwill to keep my mobility, she says, voice trembling for effect. But one resident, he's set a trap to disable my home. Power outages ruining my life, my health. Look at this. She waves a chiropractor's letter, claiming the blackouts messed up her spine. I'm biting my lip to keep from laughing. My turn. I don't yell, don't point fingers. I just slide a USB drive across the table to Ellen. This isn't about mobility, it's about boundaries. She's used my electricity without permission for 2 months, broke my sprinkler, and the HOA did nothing. I took legal steps to protect my property. That's it. Ellen plugs it in. Up pops the footage. Karen plugging in over and over. Smart plug logs showing every surge, pics of my mangled sprinkler. Vince's report proving my setup's clean. The room's dead quiet. Ellen looks at Karen. You never had permission? Karen stammers. I assumed. No. Ellen cuts her off sharp. That's it. Meeting's over. Karen huffs out, muttering about discrimination. Ellen turns to me. If she tries again, tell me. We'll slap her with a violation. I thought that'd be the end, hoped it would. But Karen? She goes bigger. I get home one afternoon and there's a massive wedding tent. $220,000 worth of frilly nonsense sprawled across my soybean field. Not my yard, my field. Karen's niece's rustic chic wedding. Stakes driven into my dirt, chairs smashing my crops. The caterer knocks, all polite. Sir, could you move your tractor? It's ruining the vibe. I smiled, oh no problem, and headed to my shed. My John Deere's old but loyal, hooked to 2 manure spreaders I'd been saving for a rainy day. Next morning, as violins start up, I flip the switch. The spreaders roar, spraying a glorious arc of cow crap across the field's edge. Guests shriek, heels sink. The tent's a stinking mess. Karen charges over, sequence flashing. You're insane. I'll sue you for this. I point to the line, my land, my rules. Tent's gone by nightfall, weddings relocated, and Karen's claim flops. Ellen shuts it down hard. She doesn't quit though. She starts begging neighbors for rides, claiming her scooter's broken. Slaps a pink property of Karen's sign on my outlet. Hilarious but useless. Then one night she sneaks back. I'm watching the feed. Scooter rolls up, she plugs in, hum, spike, boom. Her house blacks out. This time, it's permanent. She's out with a flashlight, frantic. A neighbor yells, Karen, you fried it again. I sip my coffee, grinning. Next morning, that pop and smoke from her garage, her whole front system's toast. Electrician leaves her with a bill and a shrug. She's done. But wait, Karen's got one last trick. She goes viral, sort of. My cousin texts me a link at midnight. Is this your scooter lady? It's Karen on TikTok, neck brace back, garage half lit, whining to the camera. I'm a disabled senior, victim of suburban abuse. They've cut my power, fried my scooter. It's an energy blockade. She's got blurry clips, sob stories, the works. Comments split. Some buy it, most don't. Locals chime in. She ran over my flamingo last year. She's got a hot tub. Chill. It picks up steam. A local news bit runs it with sad music, no fact check. I'm annoyed but let it ride, figuring it'll fizzle. Then she invites a YouTuber. Neckbeard, drone, the full package. She's in a lawn chair, dog in a vest, pointing at my house. That's the energy tyrant, I snap. Post my power bills online, before and after her theft. Captioned, she couldn't afford power, she stole mine. It spreads. Her story crumbles. YouTuber backtracks, do your research. She files a city complaint, claims I rigged electrical traps. Inspector comes, clipboard in hand, I show permits, receipts, Vince's statement. He laughs. She said it'd explode. Your house is still here, right? Case closed. Karen gets a city warning. One more false report, she's fined. HOA bans her from outside complaints without proof. She's cooked. Her TikTok's deleted. Scooter's gone. House dark. I throw a cookout. Burgers, music, neighbors swapping Karen horror stories. She said my lights gave her migraines. She reported my bird feeder. We laugh, grill, and as the sun sets, Karen's place is quiet. No chords, no drama, just my porch light, steady and mine. Locks on, receipt saved, peace at last.